The golden embossing on the wedding invitation shimmered under the soft glow of my office lights. James and Victoria cordially invite you, it read, as if gilded fonts could disguise the weight of the past. My brother's wedding, the city's most anticipated social affair, according to my mother's relentless phone calls. She had been orchestrating this event ever since James announced his engagement to Victoria Chin, heiress to one of the city's wealthiest empires. I couldn't help but reflect on the irony. A decade ago, James had mocked me for abandoning medical school to launch a startup. She's wasting her life, he declared to our parents during dinner. She'll come begging for help once she hits rock bottom. But I never did. I built Atlas Industries from scratch in my garage, brick by brick, hour by grueling hour. While James ascended the polished staircase of privilege within Chen Enterprises, Victoria's family business, I survived on coffee and grit, working 18-hour days to build my dream. My parents hardly noticed. They were too preoccupied celebrating James' every corporate title, every meager bonus, every moment that validated their golden child, Miss Porter. My assistant's voice pulled me from the haze of memory. The board meeting starts in 5 minutes. I set the invitation down and nodded. Atlas Industries now stood valued at over $2 billion, but I had kept my identity cloaked behind a network of holding companies. To my family, I was just another anonymous tech employee. No one connected the dots. No one looked close enough. Also, my assistant added, Chen Enterprises sent over the final draft of the semiconductor agreement. They're expecting signed documents by Friday. Yes, the $50 million contract. Their next product line depended on the specialized chips they were buying from my company. They didn't even know it was me. The wedding loomed that weekend. Part of me wanted to skip it, but my mother had insisted. Your brother is marrying into the Chen dynasty, she said, her voice oozing with pride. Do try to look respectable. I had built an empire in jeans and hoodies, but in her eyes, I was still the wayward child who failed to meet her standards. Saturday dawned bright and clear. I arrived at the grand venue dressed in a sleek, understated black dress designer, of course, though subtle enough my family wouldn't recognize the brand. The ceremony was a spectacle, just as you'd expect when old money embraces new wealth. Hundreds of guests, chandeliers dripping with crystals, champagne flowing like waterfalls, and an obscene amount of flowers. Sarah, my mother, called across the courtyard, her voice high and practiced. She air-kissed my cheek, careful not to smudge her flawless makeup. You actually came, and you look presentable. Behind her, my father was engrossed in conversation with Mr. Chen, likely discussing the semiconductor deal they had no idea hinged on me. Where should I sit? I asked, scanning the lavish seating chart. She waved vaguely. We had to make last-minute adjustments. So many important guests from Victoria's side. I'm sure you understand. Of course I did. In their eyes, I was still the black sheep, who had traded a respectable career for an entrepreneurial whim. What they didn't realize was that Atlas Industries had recently acquired 3 of Chen Enterprises' key suppliers. That semiconductor deal was just the tip of the iceberg. The ceremony itself was beautiful, I had to admit. Victoria looked radiant in her couture gown. James stood proudly, basking in the illusion that he had reached the pinnacle. I took a seat in the back, watching as my brother married into what he assumed was a superior legacy. The ceremony ended to thunderous applause, and guests drifted toward the ballroom for the grand reception. I followed the crowd, glancing around the sea of opulence, searching for my name among the place cards delicately arranged on tables. But it was nowhere to be found. Looking for something? A saccharine voice asked from behind me. Victoria stood there, now in her second dress of the day, a stunning piece, flawless like everything she chose to wear. Her smile was practiced, sharp beneath the sweetness. My seat, I replied calmly. Her lips curved into something that mimicked a smirk. Oh, didn't anyone tell you? We had to adjust the seating arrangement for some of our more distinguished guests. The kitchen staff has a lovely table in the back. You know, where the help eats. Soft laughter erupted nearby. I didn't even have to turn to know James was among the spectators. He appeared seconds later, a champagne flute in hand, his smirk unmistakable. Come on, sis, he said. Don't make a scene. You've always known where you belong. A decade's worth of insults and subtle slights echoed in my mind like thunder. Their voices, their laughter, the way they dismissed me when I had nothing but a laptop and a vision. I smiled and pulled out my phone. I dialed a number I knew by heart. Jack, it's Sarah Porter, I said, locking eyes with James as I spoke. Cancel the Chen Enterprises contract. All of it. James's champagne glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the marble floor. Gasps echoed across the ballroom. Victoria's painted smile cracked. What are you talking about? James snapped. What contract? I turned the screen toward him, the Atlas Industries logo glowing brightly. The $50 million semiconductor deal your father-in-law's been banking on. The one he thinks will save his quarterly report. The one Atlas my company was going to fulfill. Color drained from his face. Atlas? He stammered. That's impossible. Atlas is a multi-billion-dollar company. You can't what? I interrupted. Build a company? Be more than the disappointment you all assumed I was? I slipped my phone into my purse and gave them a cool smile. Congratulations. On your wedding. I'm sure the kitchen staff will save you some cake. A hush fell over the room like a storm cloud descending. Guests froze mid-toast, their curiosity piqued, their phones already out, capturing the unfolding drama. You're lying, Victoria hissed, stepping closer, her grip tightening around my wrist. Atlas is owned by Simon Porter. Everyone knows that. Simon's my uncle, I said lightly. He's the public face. I've been the one building it from the shadows. Would you like to call him and ask? James stood frozen, eyes wide, mouth parted in disbelief. The semiconductors. Chen's entire launch plan depends on them. I know, I said calmly. I also know about your last 3 failed product releases, your skyrocketing debt, and the fact that Chen Enterprises has been living off borrowed money for over a year. Just then, Mr. Chen pushed through the crowd, his face tight with concern. What's going on here? He demanded. James, why is your sister talking about our contract? I turned to him with a measured grace and extended my hand. Mr. Chen, I don't believe we've been properly introduced. Sarah Porter, CEO of Atlas Industries. Though you might know me as SB Holdings from the negotiation calls, his jaw slackened. He stumbled back as if struck. You're SB? He sputtered. The one buying up our supplier network? Guilty, I said. Though your legal team should have uncovered that weeks ago. A little deeper due diligence might have helped. My mother appeared then, her face flushed with wine and disbelief. Sarah, enough. You're embarrassing the family. I turned back to her, my voice as cool as glass. Would you like to see the quarterly reports? Or the ownership documents? I have them right here. James lunged forward, his hand gripping my arm. Fix this, he hissed. Whatever game you're playing, stop it, right now. I stared at him unflinching. Like you fixed things when I asked you for a loan 10 years ago? When I begged for help and you laughed? That was different, he growled. No, I said, gesturing to the opulent ballroom. What's different is who's holding the power now. You threw me away, all of you did, and now you need me. Victoria's composure shattered, her voice breaking. Daddy, tell me she's wrong. Tell me this isn't true. Mr. Chen said nothing. His silence spoke volumes. Mr. Chen tugged at his collar, sweat glistening on his forehead beneath the chandeliers. Princess? Business is complicated. We just need a little more time. I shook my head gently. Time won't fix anything, Mr. Chen. Your company has been bleeding funds for years. That semiconductor contract was your Hail Mary and now it's gone. Behind him, my father approached, his expression a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. Sarah, all these years, when we thought you were struggling, I was building, I said, my voice firm but not cruel. An empire, one that now overshadows the very legacy you so proudly favored. Around us, the hum of whispers had grown louder. Phones lit up with searches for Atlas Industries, for SB Holdings, for Sarah Porter. Guests were connecting the dots in real time, watching a family legacy unravel. James turned to me, his voice desperate now. You can't do this. Not today. Not at my wedding. I gave a humorless laugh. Why not? You never thought twice about dismissing me. About cutting me out of family pictures, pretending I didn't exist just because I didn't wear designer shoes. Mother stepped forward, trying to restore calm with her usual polished tone. Darling, we were only trying to protect you. We wanted you to have a respectable life, something stable like James. I raised an eyebrow. You mean James, who's been siphoning funds from his department to cover his gambling debts? Gasps rose from the nearby guests. James went pale. How did you know? He stammered. I own the company that audits Chen Enterprises, I said evenly. Every fake entry, every forged report, I've seen it all. I was waiting to see how deep you'd bury yourself before I stepped in. Victoria rounded on him, her voice cracking. You've been stealing from my father's company? The tension shattered the illusion of perfection. The wedding was no longer a fairy tale, it was a scandal unraveling with every word. Mr. Chen's face flushed with rage. Security, get them out, all of them. I didn't flinch. I wouldn't recommend that. Unless you'd like Atlas to call in every loan we've acquired from your lenders. He paused mid-command. What? We now own a significant portion of your outstanding debt, I explained coolly. If I wanted, I could demand immediate repayment, which, let's be honest, would bankrupt you by morning. The security guards froze, glancing between Mr. Chen and me, uncertain who truly held authority. Power had changed hands, and everyone could feel it. What do you want? Mr. Chen finally asked, his voice tight. I straightened, brushing imaginary lint from my dress. Want? I already have everything I need. A thriving company, industry respect, and the satisfaction of knowing the family who dismissed me now stands on the edge of collapse, held up only by the hand they tried to swat away. James staggered toward me again, panic rising. Sarah, please. We can fix this. You could join us. Sit on the Chen board. Full partnership in the family business. I tilted my head. Why would I want a seat at a table I now own? By next week, Atlas will hold controlling interest in Chen Enterprises. Your gambling debts and your father-in-law's poor management made that part easy. The contract was just the final bow. Victoria collapsed into a chair, her wedding dress pooling like wilting petals around her. This can't be happening, she whispered. Not today. Not at my wedding. I turned to her with the same icy tone she once used. The kitchen staff really does have a nice table set up. It might be more fitting for your family's new position. My mother reached for me one last time, her voice softer, more pleading. Sarah, think about what you're doing. We're your family. I stared at her, decades of memories rising like smoke, dismissive glances, backhanded compliments, holidays where I was barely acknowledged. No, I said quietly. You're the people who taught me that success only matters if it comes dressed in designer labels and social status. And for that, I thank you. It made building my company in secret that much more satisfying. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and James, I added over my shoulder. Those gambling debts you've been hiding? Atlas owns those too now. We'll be in touch about a repayment plan. The ballroom erupted behind me. Voices rose in chaos, guests murmuring, Victoria sobbing, Mr. Chen shouting at staff, my mother scrambling to salvage dignity. And James just stood there, frozen in the wreckage of his perfect day. Outside, my Tesla waited at the valet stand, not a flashy sports car, but the sleek, understated kind preferred by CEOs who built their empires from the ground up. Mike, my head of security and longtime driver, opened the door. Everything all right, Miss Porter? I gave the venue one last glance, watching the carefully constructed image of a golden family crack and crumble beneath the weight of their own arrogance. Everything's perfect, Mike, I said, slipping into the car. Let's head back to the office. We have a company to finish acquiring. The following weeks were a blur. Headlines blared news of Chen Enterprises' financial collapse, James' embezzlement, and Victoria's swift annulment. She had no interest in riding a sinking ship. My parents tried to contact me. At first, their voicemails were filled with anger and disbelief. Then they softened, becoming apologies wrapped in desperation. I didn't respond. I focused on Atlas, on building, refining, absorbing what was valuable from Chen Enterprises and discarding the rot. We retained their best employees, restructured the management, and swept away the corruption, starting with James' department. 3 months after the wedding that never really was, I sat in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Miss Porter, there's a walk-in visitor asking for you. Says she's your mother. Send her in, I said without looking up. Perfume drifted in before she did, a familiar floral scent that used to mean disapproval. She looked smaller now, older, humbled. Her designer handbag, last season's model, was clutched like a lifeline. They didn't recognize me downstairs, she said quietly. I had to show ID. Said security's tight now. We've had a few uninvited visitors since the takeover, I replied, finally meeting her eyes. She sat down across from me without being invited, smoothing her skirt nervously. Your father and we've been doing some thinking about how we treated you, about what we didn't see. I leaned back, my voice flat. And we were wrong, she whispered. So wrong. We thought James was the model of success. We didn't understand that real success could look like you. I studied her. Did you come here to apologize, mother? Or because the country club dues are overdue and you need help? She flinched. We deserve that. We do. But Sarah, you're still our daughter. Surely that means something. I stood and walked over to the window, looking out over the skyline I helped shape. It meant nothing when I needed your support. Why should it mean something now that I don't? A tear slipped down her face, smudging her mascara. Because we've learned. And because, for what it's worth, we are so proud of you. I turned back to her, arms crossed. Pride is easy when the headlines are glowing and the bank account is full. The real question is, would you have been proud of me when I was still in the garage, sleeping 4 hours a night, wearing the same hoodie every day because I couldn't afford heat and food at the same time? No, she admitted, eyes lowered. And that's our shame to carry. I returned to my desk and tapped a button on the intercom. Clara, please bring in the package for Mrs. Porter. Moments later, my assistant entered, handing my mother a thick envelope. She looked at it, confused. What is this? A fresh start, I replied. Inside is information about Atlas's small business loan program, listings for affordable commercial properties, and contacts for reputable business consultants. If you and Dad want to build something real, here's your chance. Her hands trembled slightly as she flipped through the contents. You'd help us? After everything? I'm not helping, I said, voice firm. I'm offering an opportunity. What you do with it is your choice. But understand this, there won't be any shortcuts. No special favors. No pulling strings with the Porter name. If you want to succeed, you'll have to do it the hard way, just like I did. She stood slowly, the envelope now held like a sacred promise. Thank you, Sarah, for the chance, for the lesson. As she reached the door, I added, one more thing. She turned back. That kitchen table at James' wedding? Best seat in the house. It's where you see who people really are. She nodded, a faint, knowing smile on her face. Then she left, the door closing behind her with a quiet finality. I turned back to my work. Atlas needed my attention. I had no time to dwell on ghosts from the past. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't a dramatic confrontation, it's making someone eat their pride at the very table they set for you. And sometimes, real success isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right. Atlas Industries continued to soar, becoming one of the most respected tech firms in the country. As for James, he eventually landed a position as a junior analyst at a mid-tier firm, forced, for the first time, to understand the value of hard work without shortcuts. My parents opened a small boutique using a loan they qualified for, nothing grand, but something honest and earned. Humble beginnings for people who had once scoffed at mine. And me? I kept the old workbench from my garage in my office. It sat against the far wall, scratched, stained, and absolutely irreplaceable. A reminder of where I began, a symbol that appearances mean nothing compared to what you actually build, because in the end, the kitchen table is where real work gets done and where true worth is revealed.